calling to order the January 13th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Auburn Select Board. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Select Board is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, dial 408-650-3123 with access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone else recording? Seeing none, our first item is executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved?
Is there a second? Through a roll call vote, Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Corain?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Ms. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
The chair is yes as well. We are moving into our open meeting into open session, into executive session, as open meeting may have detrimental effects on the negotiating position of the town, of the public body relative to strategy with respect to the non-union contract negotiations for the interim town manager. The board will come out of executive session and reconvene in open meeting. All right.
No, I know, I've worked with them
Okay,
before. They just generally-
we are reconvening an open meeting. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone else recording?
Like 1-800 search
Okay.
or something.
If you are able to, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. So our first item, we have one individual signed up for public comment. So Mr. Lozano, if you'd like to come up. Could you just give your name and address, please?
Hello, my name is John Lozon, and I live at 10 Main Street. My first concern is the loose grading in the train tracks about a half mile down the street under the bridge. I have to drive all the way to the right, go in one direction, and all the way to the right in the other direction to avoid smashing into those railroad ties. It's been going on for about 2 months. Now, I realize it's probably the responsibility of the CXS or whatever, but it's right here in Auburn, and it's not getting, the situation isn't getting any better. And I'm one of these guys that have to get inspection on my car, and I don't want my front end busted up from that. So that's my first concern. My second concern is the ongoing reoccurring potholes on Main Street, Auburn. There's literally thousands of cracks on the road. Main Street, Auburn hasn't been paved in approximately 50 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Main Street, Auburn. I know it hasn't been paved. I know it's a public road. Putting tar in a pothole on that steep hill that washes the tar out every time we get rain is like putting perfume on a pig. My third concern is the Veterans Advisory Council. I was actually asked to be a member of the Veterans Advisory Council. I gladly accepted and was sworn in this very room. When the council was first formed, we had our first meeting right here in this room. However, we were told we could no longer use this room, but we were allowed to use a small employee break room in the basement. After tolerating town hall employees for over a year, just walking into our meetings and grabbing food from the refrigerator, sometimes they walked in during our meetings' Pledge of Allegiance, I served as secretary for over a year. I turned in my resignation letter shortly after that. I realized that people love a person in uniform. People pretend to respect and support our veterans here, but the treatment I witnessed didn't seem supportive at all. It seemed disrespectful. I have attended a half dozen town meetings since last May. I've complained several times about the 200 years of pollution in the ground and water in my neighborhood, only to have to do all the legwork myself, including phone calls and meetings with the people that showed up. I was only told that they can't enter because it's private property. I informed them that I have written permission to be on that property to ride my dirt bike from 1980. So I could take them down there. They said they still couldn't do it, but I could go there. So I told them I'd be happy to go down and retrieve soil and water samples for them to test. However, they declined. I got no transparency or accountability. I've been there, I've been in there since then. There's huge clearings down there that are exposing the manhole covers that were put in years ago. So clearly, there's they're making way for construction. I heard it's going to be housing for the illegal aliens. I don't know because, again, the transparency, accountability problems that we have in this town. All my concerns as of yet have been dismissed. I used to watch my dad about 50 years ago on cable TV Auburn, and because he'd be complaining about these big red trucks flying up and down Main Street, and he complained, and finally them red trucks stopped, because change allegedly starts at small government. I'm here at small government, I haven't seen any change yet. So, to our esteemed Board of Selectmen, every single time I've come here, not one of you ever said one word. So maybe, I don't know what your job is, possibly you do great things for Auburn when I'm not looking. Anyhow, You know, clearly you desperately need it. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if anyone up there even did anything about any of my complaints for the past 7 months. To the revered Ed Kasanovich, congratulations on your upcoming retirement. It's bittersweet for me. I'm happy that it's good riddance for you. However, I'm sad that I have to pay for your pension for the rest of your life to a guy that not only doesn't live in Auburn, but never lived in Auburn. You have dismissed all my concerns that I have brought forth every time. When this country was founded, we had tyrants. Those tyrants were tarred and feathered. Today, we are civilized and cannot conduct vigilante justice like the good old days. You, sir, with your own agendas and disrespect towards the people, make you a modern-day tyrant. On a lighter note, some dirty, filthy piece of human trash was apprehended by 2 detectives from the Auburn Police Department for human trafficking. I support good policing, always have, always will. This is a prime example of excellent policing. The last thing I would like to say on a positive note is for the young lady in the middle. You've treated me with nothing but dignity and respect every time you spoke to me. You are the epitome of what a trusted public servant's supposed to be. Public servant is a demeaning word. It's an honor, and you bring that honor to being a public servant. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. We're moving along to number 6, community organizations. We have none. We do have a public hearing for a petition by National Grid. Are they joining us? Do we know if they're joining us online or are they in person? Oh, great. Did you want to come up? Is there a motion to open the public
I
hearing?
make a motion to open the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about the project? Could you give us your name as well?
Good evening. My name is Mohammed Arifai. I am a distribution design engineer with National Grid. I'm actually here for 2 hearings. One for installation of underground conduit on Auburn Hill Road, and then one for a new pole on Arrowhead Ave.
Yeah, so we'll have to take them as separate matters. If you want to start with the first one on the underground.
So there's a new development going on Auburn Hill Road right now at 12 Auburn Hill Road. We're pretty much trying to install conduit from an existing handhole in front of the properties of 8 and 10 Auburn Hill Road to a new handhole that will be located at the property line of 12 Auburn Hill Road and in the future of 14 Auburn Hill Road. Pretty much this conduit will serve, or bring wires to the new handhole to serve the properties of 12 and 14.
Okay, is there anybody in the public that has any questions? Yeah, can you just step up to the microphone and give your name and address? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Harris. I live at 8 Auburn Hill Road. So there's a bunch of concerns we have there. We have a new house going in there, now we know we have 2, apparently. So that's,
One
Everyone
right
can-
now, maybe 2.
yeah, and everyone gets to make a home and everything. But if you've seen the condition of the road, so a while back, we had Auburn Hill Road accepted as a town road. They adjusted it. And I don't really know who the contractor was, but the curbs were never removed. So in our property, there's still curbs in the lawns and everything. The drain covers are falling in. There's a lot of work to do down there. So we understand that the electric company has to come in. But we're also wondering, does the cable come in? Does the water come in? Are we going to dig up the road 3 times? That we'd like to know. So we also would like to know the time that you're going to do it. Because I imagine that we're going to lose power at some point on those homes. Some of the homes there, we have people that have IVs and things that need electrical power. So we need a time frame. So I discussed the previous issues with the street. If you go down there, there's a lot of problems in the road now. If you guys chop up the road again, and then the cable company comes down, and the sewer company comes down, it's just going to be a mess even more. So I discussed that. So snow issues. So currently, when you come down the end of the street, the plows have just pushed the snow to the end of the street. Now there's a house there, but no street. So the plows have continued just to push there. Contractors can't get in, so they have to remove it themselves. So that's an issue. And then also the water drainage down there. So the water comes down that hill like crazy. If anyone knows Packagug Hill, I think it means, in an Indian language, hill of running water. So there's a lot of water comes down there. You have to watch out for that. Let's see here. We don't know how long the power would be out. So if you guys dig up and the power is gone, what do we do for heat? Depending on what time you guys do it. I'd like to know that as well. So there's a few houses involved, and that whole end of the street, I'm telling you, is not in that great a shape, just from the water down there.
I could try to answer what I can. Most of it, I honestly don't have an answer to be honest with you. I'm just an engineer. I don't really work on outage coordination, or I don't work with the civil contractors. So how it works for us in National Grid is we have a civil contractor, Miraco. They're the ones that do the road digging, the conduit installation, as well as the restoration of the road. We have a civil supervisor with National Grid that supervises those contractor crews. So before they begin doing the construction work, they'll usually send out, if there's going to be an outage, they'll send out letters to the affected homes, letting them know that there will be an outage. Because we're only dealing with secondary, I'm assuming there's not going to be much of an outage or no outage. It's an assumption, not gonna set it in stone, but these electrical contractors are rated to handle working near live wires. So in a situation where they're safe to do so, they will work on it, work within the vicinity of the excavation live. Mira generally uses vac trucks, which are pretty much vacuum trucks, so vacuum suck the asphalt and the dirt from the road. That way it doesn't disturb any of the existing utilities. Like I said, usually any outages will be coordinated with you. I can discuss with the job owner and see if they can let you and any other residents in the area know when they're coming out there, how long they're gonna be there for, and what if you're going to lose power or not. As for telco, I can't speak on their behalf either. I don't know what's going out there for communications, and I don't know what this water and sewer situation is either. Out of my
That's the
hands.
big thing, yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't think it goes any further than that point, so I'm just saying, before the street gets ripped up again,
yeah.
is there any way you can coordinate that? Because you know that certainly if this house is going in, we know that's already being built. If there's a second one going in, apparently they're gonna need sewer, and, they just rip up the street that's already destroyed.
This is why I'm also planning ahead and doing one large installation of the conduit, so that in case there's another house coming up online next door to it, everything's right situated on our end. What was I gonna say?
Yeah, and just letting us know when this is gonna happen too, it's gonna be huge.
It all hinges honestly on the approval of the petition today, and as well as I have to open a road work permit with the DPW of Auburn. So once all that's coordinated, it'll be on the schedule. Once it's on the schedule, I'll talk to our customer fulfillment reps, our job owners, and see if they can send out letters to the neighbors to let them know that there's gonna be work in the area.
And, I appreciate what those people are trying to do, building their home and everything, but if you guys know that area at all, down from Packagug Golf Course, the water comes down there. It's interesting, we were surprised that there were homes being built there, actually. Because we'll see how they do, I guess.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else? Please, can you just give your name and your address?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Capina. I'm at 23 Old Farm Road. So many similar comments to what Mike had. Curious, how long does this take as well? So what is the impact to our driveways, getting in and out? Where it's going is not in front of our driveway, but it's right across the street, and it's how I get in and out of our driveway. So want to know how long the road is going to be in disrepair. Losing the power, that's definitely important as well. As Mike also said, the fact that there's already so many issues with this area, with sinkholes. There's a basin in front of our, that we've been calling for 25 years to get repaired, not getting repaired. So now we're coming in, gonna rip up the street again. How can we be assured that it's going to be repaired the way it is right now? Even though it's not great, it's better than it's probably going to be once it gets ripped up again. Let's see. The comment about another house being built, I would love to know who we talked to about that, because when we were originally informed about this house being built, we were told only one house could be built on that property due to the conservation, and that if there was another house, there would have to be a turnaround, which was too close to the conservation land. So that is a huge concern. So I don't know if that gets discussed here or how I get more information on that. Let me see. So I think those are, yeah, and also just, I'm just curious, the house is already built. Now we're asking permission to do these things. I don't understand that order of business. Why wouldn't we be talking about what's gonna happen before a house gets built? Now we're basically not asking for permission, we're asking for permission after, right? So those are big concerns. I think that's it.
Thanks for your comment. I know in general, National Grid has to come through the select board to run wires underground or move poles. And that's just how it has worked in the past. I don't know. I don't know if I can provide you any additional information on them building the house and then asking for the electricity to be run, but that is how it has worked in the past for that.
So who is being asked permission? Is it us? Is it you?
The
Who are we
board, they're
getting?
asking the board
You're asking
permission.
the
to-
board?
Yeah.
So obviously, you're not going to say no, so it's just going to happen. But I want to make sure that these concerns are addressed accordingly, because, like I said, it's been years since we've been making phone calls. In fact, when I came to the conservation meeting, we told them, and Freddie, Freddie knows about the water issues that are going to occur. We sent I was told, I don't know who told me to send it, but I sent videos of the water that comes down that road, and never got a response. So just, again, we don't seem to get a lot of proactive response.
Sure.
Madam Chair, members of the board, you raised some important and some concerning issues. In terms of the development of the new home, if you leave me a number, I can have our town planner reach out to you to explain what you believe was a permit issue that interfered with conservation land. The planner would have the history of that request. In terms of National Grid's involvement, I would suggest, and certainly we're going to monitor the situation, because we want to make sure that the disturbance is repaired to its original condition prior to any installation going on. So we can work hand in hand with our DPW department, as well as National Grid, and some of the concerns of the neighbors, to make sure that what is being disturbed is put back in the condition that it currently stands.
And then also, what about addressing the existing issues that we've been calling, the sinkholes?
So the sinkholes, I think our DPW director can address that at the same time and give you an idea as to when that may be scheduled or what. They have a rating for each street, and they have a preliminary date of rehab or reconstruction of the road. Maybe they can share that information with you at that time.
So I'm sorry, do you have an idea of how long then that it doesn't, we don't know?
I don't, like I said, civil is out of my hands. I don't know if they give you a time frame or not. As terms of work, it's not the most complicated work that a civil crew can do. I can't give you a time frame, honestly.
I just want to make sure I can get out of my driveway when I need to get out of my driveway, and I'm not asking for people to move their vehicles all the time or anything like that, so.
I will talk to our job owner and see if they can include that in any notices, or I can try to contact you myself and see how long it's gonna take for the civil crews to be out there for. It's gonna be depending on when they schedule it, and then it's also gonna be dependent on emergencies. If we have any storm emergencies during construction, we obviously have to drop everything and report to these emergencies, so it's very time dependent in our industry, unfortunately, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you can leave your contact information with Sharon here before you leave, we can coordinate a conference call or something of it.
Sure, if you have, please. Just your name and address, please?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Freddie Owusu. I'm the owner of lot number 12, owner of lot number 14, and number 15. So I pretty much can enlighten most of the things that they have concerns with. I'm familiar with the neighbors, Mr. Tom and the wife. I'm also familiar with the neighbors across. I do have conversations with them every now and then, so by all means, if you have any concerns with things that you've asked today, I probably could help with it and give more clarity to it. In terms of another lot being built on number 14, that's not the idea, that's not a decision. I believe National Grid has their way of putting conduits in the ground, and that's what they determined that's the right way going forward, in case another lot goes in there. But from the last planning meeting that we had, the conclusion was that we start with Auburn number 12. There was no plan on developing 14. So there's no concerns on that. You also had questions about the road, where it stopped, where they had stopped the main road leading to the paper road. I had also asked the town if they could probably extend it further for the plowing as well, but that didn't happen. I wish they could extend it further so we could have the snow plowed beyond my drive. I'm pretty willing to work with the neighbors to make sure we have, everything that we need to get going with, clarify your concerns. One thing I do want to mention is I reached out to the superintendent, the highway superintendent, in regards to the road and the sink holes that they have in the road. I did take some pictures, and it quite surprises me that the town has not taken actions to, solve that. The pictures look very terrible. I emailed them, it's like literally sinking. And they did come out to put cones and all of that. And since we in the middle of construction, one of the things I did mention to them is that we could probably work together in terms of time schedule to see how we can correct that issue in the road whilst we're working. I don't know their schedule, but we got to keep going. We can't wait for the town. So gentlemen here, I believe they came out the other day to check where they're going to be digging. I believe it's nowhere near your side. It's all the way on the other side of the Auburn Hill, I believe. Is that correct? Because they're on the Old Farm Road, and then we're on the other side of the Auburn Hill Road. So I could pretty much help with most of the concerns you have. If you have it, I'm at number 1214. I'm always on site. If you can reach out to me, I'm happy to leave my contact for you. You can always reach out.
Yeah, so, there's not much you can do once they rip up of the road, and, our concerns are making sure that things go back home, right? We don't, I don't know if you're familiar with Upland Street in Worcester, the houses they just put there, I mean, it's a nightmare, happens, right? And, we can't have
And we are aware of the run water that goes, all the way down. We've taken measures to put in stormwater on our lots in front as well as the back of the property, so we can have the waters drain down from the roof as well as any runoff from the road. So we've been through with the DPW, with the land disturbance permit. We've clarified all of that, and we're looking forward to put that in, so we can also take care of the runoff that comes from the road. But that's what we could do on our end. If the town could help sort of push the road a little bit forward and, work with us, we could make sure that, we maintain these runoffs coming off the road.
That's been a problem all along, because unfortunately, they do push the snow, and they push it as far as they can without going into dirt, right? But it makes a wall right along our driveway, so we had to install a huge drainage and a ditch to divert, because our sheds have been washed out in rain times and things like that. So just any help we can get, even if his driveway is literally right there, so if they don't push that snow past his driveway, that'll be a mess.
I don't really have a problem where the driveway is situated now, but if it could push back, backwards, that will help all of us, because it's really, at the end of the cutoff, so.
If I may, any comments, could you address them up at the podium? Only
Yeah,
because
I'll
it is a
be happy.
public hearing, and there may be people who are participating remotely, so.
Any questions for me?
Could you just also provide your name and address? Thank you.
Thomas Michael Capina, I'm at 23 Owl Farm Road. My understanding is, talking to Freddie, is that the town will not pave past his driveway. That doesn't make sense, because his property extends how far is your property at the end from the end of the road, where they're not gonna pave, to,
It extends.
so you're an acre or so, right?
It extends about 100 feet out.
So if he's paying taxes, why isn't the road being extended for him? That doesn't make sense. He's gonna be driving on dirt. The water comes down, and I've been managing this, I've been there for almost 30 years. Water comes down at the end of the road, washes the road out, I gotta fill it back in. So what I did is, I've got crushed stone at the end of that street, so it doesn't wash out. I also had to put a trench in, because when we moved there, this is what the town was doing. They were pushing the snow. When we got a lot of snow, 15 feet high, I'd have to cut pathways so the water would go through when it rained. When we didn't do that, or if I didn't do it, if I slept, rained, our basement would get flooded. I've got a drain in front of my driveway, in front of my garage, that deals with that. I've had a number of times where my shed got washed out. Because when they did the street in 2012, they put all the piping at the end of the street. We got a huge rainstorm. I wasn't there, my neighbors were, washed everything out. Again, not understanding why the road isn't extended, he's paying taxes past his property. We can't have plows just stopping right there. He's not gonna be able to get into his driveway. That's the concern. The second concern is, when I moved in, before they approved the 3 streets to become public, I was taking cement around the catch basin. I talked to a couple of the engineers. They'd seen it from satellite pictures, where I had to put cement around the catch basin so the water would go in. Now, after we had the road paved in 2012, and it happened, so 2012, they did it. Probably 4 years later, now there's a sinkhole that goes into the catch basin. So the water goes in, not into the catch basin grate, in. I called, they came, and they took asphalt, and they put it there, and it went right in. And that was it. So now, like he said, they got the 2 cones. That catch basin is collapsing. It's collapsing all along. The sidewalk is collapsing. Last storm we had, like, I don't know, when you came, 2022, 2021, when we had hurricanes, and like when Mike said, when they did the street, they didn't remove the asphalt, and the piping or whatever, or the catch basins, whatever, they're all collapsing. He's already had, his driveway's got sinkholes. They came and filled it, and now they came again. They filled the sinkholes and said they were gonna fix it, but they filled it with loam, put down grass, fine. This summer, he was cutting his lawn, he fell into another sinkhole in his lawn this deep, and he filled it. We can't have this. I've been doing this stuff myself because it's one person, so they're not gonna do anything for one person. But now, it's affecting everybody. And we're paying our taxes, it needs to get fixed. And if he's gonna come in, and then the sewer's gonna come in, it's just gonna be a cluster.
So I wanted to make a clarification on the sewer. The sewer is,
Can you just step up to the microphone? Thank you.
the sewer is not in the road itself. It's been allocated way down where you have your bird feeds. It's all the way down there, so it's nowhere near the road.
But all I'm saying is, the catch basin itself, the existing catch basin itself is collapsing. And they put those cones there. It's a matter of time before that falls. If I wasn't taking care of the street, at the end of the street, where I wouldn't be able to get in my driveway, because it kept washing out in the asphalt, again, right? Washes out underneath, collapses. And then if you guys come down and you just throw a patch on, does nothing. It's gotta be fixed correctly.
It's about a
Okay.
15-inch of hole that is underneath the catch basin.
Thank you for your comments. We can have DPW come out and look at it. We can ask them to come out and look at it.
Well, and
come
my
up
other
with a
concern is,
solution.
while all these other, construction guys are coming out to do their work, are they supervising this to make sure that it is correct? That's what, who's supervising these guys to make sure everything that's been done is done right, so that it doesn't collapse again? Because when they did do the road in 2012, you can see where they had to come back, because it collapsed, so they had to repair the street. So this tells us that they didn't do it the correct way. And a lot of the catch basins around are all collapsing. It's degenerating.
Okay.
So there's a lot of work to be done, and I don't know who's responsible for looking into that, but there's a lot of work that's got to get done. And him coming in is just, and then, with him and more tearing up the road is just going to create more problems. So everything's got to get corrected.
So my request for the town is that the town can sort of address the situation, the existing condition, and see how they can be improved, because like Tom is saying, the more we get coming in and going up the road, the more we turn the road down. And the condition now, I feel like it needs to be addressed. So I spoke to Emma from DPW when they came on site that, hey, we already in construction. So we could look at the construction schedule and see when we could work together to make sure that this is taken care of and you guys take care of your side. And we can also make sure that the road is in good condition after the construction, because I don't want the problem whereby we're gonna be pointing fingers at number 12 because we started construction, but these conditions were already existing before we came on ground. So I feel that these also has to be addressed before we sort of, get our hands off this work.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Can we have DPW look at drainage in that area?
So, sir, can you tell me when Emma was on site and looked at the condition of the catch basin? In the
So I believe I sent out an email. I'm not sure the particular date. I have a record of the email, and I sent pictures as well with the catch basin. And she informed the superintendent, which they came out, I believe, a day or 2 days later and secured with a cone. As of today, there's still cones there. I believe it's about 3 weeks or 4 weeks down the line now, and there's still cones there.
So what I will do tomorrow is I'll have a discussion with Emma and DPW to see what their assessment is, when that was done, and what is being recommended to rectify the problem. But that's why I wanted a coordination of activities with N-Grid when they're on site, to ensure that the work that they do is left in the condition that it was before it opened up. Now, that may not address the ongoing issues, but that's something we'll take a look at as well.
So I think what we're trying to point is that if we say National Grid is going to do the work and leave it as it was, as it is now, it's not good. So again, I'm not sure how National Grid will coordinate with the town to get the conditions as it is and what improvements you...
Right, any vendor who opens up the road, there's an expectation that it's not gonna be any worse than what it was before they opened it up. Certainly, that expense has to be borne by the town, and that's something we'll take a look at. And there may be something already programmed to do that road, quite honestly. I'm not aware of the situation, but we will take a look at it.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a question to the gentleman who owns number 12? Has your water been installed yet? I know you have power coming in. Have you brought water to the?
No.
Okay, so is that, do you know when that schedule is?
So again, when we looked at the sinkhole, that was also my concern. So, like, the condition as it is now, we gotta address that because they're gonna go to the fire hydrant, go a little bit further down, and that is where the sinkhole area is, really, pretty much.
Can I just ask the town manager, is it possible to have our DPW as well as our building commissioner coordinate with the owner so that National Grid, when they do their work, then you can do the water connection? You said the sewer's not coming in from the road, it's coming in from somewhere else.
From back, yeah.
And then DPW can do an assessment before they do their work, because yes, in our permits is most likely the requirement, they have to bring it back to existing conditions, if not better. But then it sounds like there are more issues that's not on National Grid and it's not on the water department with respect to the condition of the roadway and the failing stormwater management issues that I think if you can have our DPW coordinate specifically with the owner, with the residents, and with the vendors that the gentleman's working with and our building commissioner, just to make sure that everyone's working together, that we're not digging in the road, National Grid's not putting it back with a permanent patch, only to have the water department come in and compromise the permanent patch and dig it again, put in another permanent patch. It sounds like there's a serious issue down there that's not related to number 12, certainly not on National Grid, but really does sound like DPW really needs to go down there and look at the stormwater management in that street.
Thank you, Todd.
Chair, isn't that part of our normal permit process, that they'll review all those and talk through the process of what needs to go and when?
Certainly, part of the permitting process requires a review by DCG, and all those players are at the table, including the water district. So if there are any outstanding issues, I'm sure they are probably going to be known at the time that they are considering whatever work that the DCG recommends. So I don't know if the matter has gone before DCG yet, but we'll take a
Well,
look.
then that's my concern, if there was a house built and all these issues, the town doesn't know about all these issues until they're brought up, and now we're running around. So for the select board to hear this after the fact and to find out, and again, I don't know, but it sounds like the proper boards weren't notified and they couldn't address these issues for the residents in the proper manner. And that's something that needs to be
I
looked at
think
too.
the town was aware of these, the neighbors have made the town aware of these issues. I'm not sure they could clarify.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I just had to, we have been calling for years. We have been, do I have emails and documentation? I don't, but, this is important to us. We've lived here for a long time, we love where we live, we want to, we want to be happy, and it's just ongoing, and now additional sinkholes and additional, so it's just, it's probably none of you, but for sure, there's on record somewhere that we've made multiple phone calls.
No, I think the board wants to address it. So if we can get the right information, so we can get it correct, I think that's...
And before I sit down, I think we started the construction, kind of started digging up all of these stuff that were already in place. So, like you said, we're willing to work together with the town to make sure that these are clarified and, corrected. So, thank you.
So if I may, I think a regular building permit would not go before DCG, but any infrastructure improvements typically would. So I don't know if any of this has gone before DCG, but we're gonna follow up with the individuals we identified as an effort of coordination to assess the problem and hopefully come up with some type of recommendation to improve it.
Sounds like it was an A&R, so it wasn't a subdivision. So it's not getting the review that the planning board normally would do. So that's where part of the situation comes in. You wouldn't get notified because there's this weird process in Mass General Law called approval not required, even though you need the approval of the planning board to do it. And they, as long as you have frontage and area, they essentially sign, and that's a buildable lot. So that's how these things kind of end up happening. But, yeah.
So if I do have a question.
Certainly. So do board members have any questions on this application?
I do. So I know in other areas, the practice isn't to go down the middle of the road, it's to go on the sidewalk or beyond. Is there limits to that, or what is the purpose? And if this path of travel is not accurate, please let me know.
Yeah, this path of travel is just a representation. It's going to hinge on dig safe markings mostly. So our civil contractors will have dig safe out there to pretty much mark out any existing utilities. And they will use that and the clearances defined by our standards to install the conduit appropriately. The existing conduit in this development seems to be within public right-of-way, but mostly within on the edge of the road and the sidewalk. So this will probably follow the same route.
Do board members have any other questions? Are there any other questions from the public? I just want to give you another opportunity. Is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Is there a motion on the application?
Make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is yes as well.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you so much for letting us know the situation that's going on.
Just one thing, I want to just give them my business cards, just so they can have a point of
Yeah,
contact
of
for me.
course.
So, and then we can go on to the next
Yep.
one.
If you can leave one for us, too. Great, thank you.
And then Sharon's getting their information as well.
2012 isn't old enough that it would be on record.
He left, yes. We're getting the names of the...
Oh, perfect. Nice.
The drainage.
That's great.
Curtis Street or the whole area, they stopped developing because of the traffic. The runout. So, the fact that the town is accepting as a road.
I know, that's a good point.
Yeah,
In pump out basement?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way it should fail that quickly.
Okay. So our next item is the public hearing for a poll location on Arrowhead Avenue. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
I make a motion to open the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Could you tell us a little bit about this application?
Well, this is a lot more straightforward. We are basically installing a pole on Arrowhead Ave, approximately 145 feet from the corner of Church Street and Arrowhead Ave. The purpose of this pole is to install a capacitor bank for National Grid, which will pretty much help with reliability for our power in the general area. That's all I have.
Do members of the public have any questions? Could you just give your name and your address, please?
Rocky Cataldo. I own the property at 14 Church where the proposed scope of work is being done. I was wondering how you came about, what are you actually doing?
So this isn't designed by me, it's designed by one of our contractors, but
Sorry, I can't hear you.
this isn't designed by me, it's designed by one of our contractors, our external contractors. But the purpose of this pole is to install a capacitor bank, which is a device that helps regulate the flow of current on our power lines. Usually we install these strategically across different poles and different power lines to kind of maintain or help regulate our electricity so that we have stable electricity flowing through all of our.
And this can't be put anywhere else on an existing pole?
It's hard to. I don't know the conditions of this road, honestly. Generally speaking, with National Grid, we do one pole, one purpose. So let's say, for example, we have a pole that has a transformer on it. We can't put another device on it. We also can't put devices on poles on corners of roads where there's more than one pretty much angle coming out of it. So we usually install, if we don't already have a fresh, clean pole to put it on, we install fresh poles, clean poles with no existing equipment on it so that we can install our new equipment on.
All right, and one more time, explain to me what this power bank thing is?
I'm a mechanical engineer, so I can't give you the exact, but it's basically, so capacitors, they hold a charge, and basically if there's not enough charge on the power lines, they will pretty much discharge their
Okay,
charge
it builds
to the
up and
capacitor.
send it down the line?
Yep.
Okay. The problem I have with that is I've already got on that corner lot that's less than 3/4 of an acre, I've already got 4 telephone poles on it. This will make 5.
Okay.
Look like Fort Apache. Is there anywhere else you can put it? I assumed it was for SAG, which I've been there 70 years. Sorry to say that, but I've been there 70 years, and the stake that they put in the ground makes no sense because, I mean, they walk away. After they put a pole in the ground, they don't have to look at it like other people that own the property. Where he staked it, it'll be 44 feet from the next pole down,
Yep.
and it will be 105 feet from the existing pole at the corner of Church and Arrowhead.
I have different dimensions on them, what I see, but regardless.
You would think that they would put it right in the middle between the 2 poles aesthetically.
Is there any, I don't know what the frontage looks like on that property? There's no
Well, I got
driveways,
4,
there's
I got
no-
4 poles now.
Yep.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but if they're going to put that pole up, are they going to put a supporting pole in the back of that pole?
No, now it's a straight line pole, so because there's the pole ahead of it and the pole behind it are both within the same line, there's no supporting structure needed. Usually if it's an angle, we require guy wires and anchors or push braces.
Well, again, my concern is, I've already got 4 poles on that lot,
Okay.
and that's a little much. And that's an open space lot where I can, if I wanted to, I could put a house. And that would be right in the center of the property,
Yep.
where a proposed house could go. So I would ask you, is there another place on the street you could put it? I mean, I've been bombarded between the Mary D. project, and they took all the trees on the corner of my lot. They put another supporting pole, so I've got 4 poles. I think I've had enough with 4 poles. I don't need 5.
Yep.
I would ask you to do a survey to see if you could put this capacitor object somewhere else within maybe 4 or 5 poles in any direction.
Okay. I can message the contractor engineer and discuss your concerns with them.
Okay, and if they were to put that pole where they had the stake, aesthetically, it is not good. I mean, you're looking at 44 feet from the first pole down from Church, and then you're looking at 105 feet to Church, so it isn't even taking care of sagging the line.
Yep.
It'll just look foolish.
Generally speaking with sagging, National Grid requires up to 150 feet between poles.
There's only 195.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like I said, I can talk to the contractor engineer about this. Generally speaking, when I try to design these things, I try to take into consideration.
I mean, I'm sure it's a good thing that they're trying to do. It's just aesthetically, what they've staked out just doesn't work for me.
Okay.
like I say, 4 telephone poles, I think, is enough on like, less than a 3/4 lot.
Yep.
So if they could, well, all I'm asking is, can you put it, I don't even know the size of one of these capacitor things.
They're pretty, yeah, they're pretty sizey. They're huge, they're big.
Yeah, and that's going to be right, I'm going to be looking at this thing. And not that I want anybody else to, but maybe you can put it in a little more remote area, not,
So the way these usually work is it's placed based on history of the feeder. So planning gives them pretty much a certain area, a couple poles here, a couple poles there for location. They can't just put it anywhere. It has to be at certain locations. So I can discuss this with the contractor engineer as well as the planning engineer and see if there's anywhere else on that road we can put it.
I wish you would. The area may need it, but I wish you could find an alternate place. I just don't want, it looks like Fort Apache. And could someone get back to me on that?
So I will note that if you go through the review process, we would have to schedule a new public hearing to have it. So as the abutter of where the pole would be, you would be notified again of the public hearing.
Okay, so I'm not going to just someday pull up and see them augering a pole down. And also, one other concern, if it had to be done, how long is that going to be no, it's going to be a new pole, so there wouldn't be a pole to remove. Okay, I answered my own
The
question.
double poles you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have, yeah, I know, I get those all the time.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a Verizon issue, not an Engrid issue, honestly.
that's my concerns, and if, you needed to guide wire it, that's even makes it worse. Now you're getting very close to my garage.
I agree. Like I said, I can discuss this with the planning engineer as well as the contractor engineer and see if they can revisit this and redesign it. And then we'll be back here eventually to rediscuss it, I'm assuming, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
problem.
Do board members have any questions on this application?
And what does the applicant want to do? Do you want us to continue the hearing?
Well, if
Or do
we,
you want us to?
if they review it again, we have to hold a new public hearing, so we
Understand
can't.
that, but he has to gather information before he can even begin that. So if after that review, they find, no, this is, the perfect and only place, I would hate to see us close the hearing and then have him have to reapply and go through all of that. So that's why I'm asking the applicant what he would like us to do.
So I guess what you're trying to say is that as you do the review, if you find out that this is the correct location,
Yep.
if we don't close the hearing, you can come back, we can take our vote. If you close the hearing, you find out this is the perfect location, you have to start the whole process over again. So if we continue this tonight, you do your investigation, you find out there's a better place, then you can withdraw this application
Okay.
and apply for the new location. But I think it's probably easier that we hold it tonight, continue the public hearing tonight, and allow you that time to decide.
That's fine with me, yeah.
Make a motion to continue the public hearing?
Second?
All those
We
in
have to do
favor?
it to a date certain, and we have to ask, we're meeting in 2 weeks. Will you have an answer in 2 weeks?
No, how about this, let's close it. We'll reapply if need be.
Well, and we can do it 4 weeks. I
Well,
mean,
okay then, yeah, I don't know exactly, I'll message them tomorrow. I can't guarantee an answer anytime soon. It might take a little longer for them to redo the feeder study and see where exactly a better place is. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work.
Request the
on this.
continuance if you're not going to meet that date.
Okay, all right, sounds good, yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we continue to February 10th.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. When we put this back on the schedule, can we let the gentleman know so he can do as well?
Yeah, can we let the same abutter list, will get notice again?
Thank you.
Wondering if I can get a picture of one of these things. Do you have one?
Maybe? I could look, Google has it.
If you don't mind stepping away from the table, because we do have other items.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank
But we
you.
appreciate your,
Thank you so much. So, moving along, we are on number 8, departmental items. We have an update on the fire station owner, the OPM, owner project manager. So, if you guys could just give us your names, tell us about the project.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm happy to have here with us tonight Joe Sullivan from Left Field. He is the lead project manager on the fire station project. As you know, the Fire Station Building Committee put out an RFQ seeking qualified OPM firms. They interviewed, I believe it was 7 companies over 2 nights, and the committee voted to support Left Field. So a contract has been executed with them. So the purpose of tonight was to bring Joe here and introduce himself to the board members and give the board just a little update on the project, the timeline, and all those things. So I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Chief. First, I want to thank the board and the town manager for allowing me to provide an update and give you a little introduction to myself. Left Field Project Management is a company that's worked within the Commonwealth and has done a lot of facilities. I've been doing owner's project management for a little over 23 years and been in the construction field for over 35. I've done 13 fire stations, 6 public safety, and 7 police stations. So I have my depth of knowledge of public safety, and that doesn't include any of the DPW buildings and the schools that I've done. So I take it personal with fire station, police stations. I think, you know, they're critical for the Commonwealth and each town. One of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is that when we were awarded the contract, we hit the ground running. We knew town meeting in May was coming up pretty quick, and we had a lot of items that we needed to address. So what I've done is I put a schedule together, and that schedule is going to basically outline, I'll give this copy because I didn't anticipate as many, but the schedule outlines a few things. One, it shows the progress from now till the May town meeting. And what are those steps and what are those categories that we're going to be addressing? One of them is making sure that we're going to look at the overall program. We're meeting with the department and the architect weekly from now till May, just to make sure that we get it right. I mean, the bottom line is I want to make sure that we're designing a building for the next 50 years, that we're looking for any efficiencies we can within the square footage and try to make sure that, you know, the department gets what they need and deserve for the next 50 years. The other part of it is, from my experience, I know what works and what doesn't, some of the mistakes some of the designers have made and some of the positive aspects of design. So we're going to make sure those are getting included as we move forward through our design review. Additionally to that is that I know what the cost of construction is. It's night and day from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic. And although we're starting to see it dip a little bit, it's not gone down to pre-pandemic numbers. So I know what the tax dollar means to everybody in town. We're going to make sure that we get the best value for this particular building at the most reasonable cost as we move forward. So, and that's part of, like, even as Thursday of this week, we're going to be meeting with the department just to hear exactly some of their concerns and what their, you know, there's wants, wishes, and needs. We're going to look at what they need right out of the box. And then we're going to look at some of the other categories for the necessities as they move forward. Looking forward, we're actually going to have a few public forums, not just one. I think when we talked about it with the building committee and the department, to figure out those particular locations and to try to engage as much public as possible. Transparency is essential when we're going through this process, and we want to be very forthcoming with the information and consistency of that information as we move forward. I'm big on trying to find out other funding sources. I can tell you categorically, right now, there's no grants out there that I wish I could just say we could write and fund the station. However, there are incidental funding sources for some of the FF&E, furniture, fixture, and equipment within the facility. We're going to look at each one of those. I successfully did it in a number of different towns, and we've provided some leverage to reduce some of the furniture, fixture, and equipment costs for the building, that we could put that back into the building facility itself. So we're going to look at that and work closely with the town on that. The other thing that we're looking to do is, I know the legislature's trying to do a program right now. We're going to look at the earmarks to see what's going to happen, but I'm going to need your support once these come out to make sure that we're, notifying the legislature of what our needs are moving forward. The MSBA came up with a great program. I'm hoping that they do that for the emergency management and the first responders as well. So, but that's, I've seen, what, has it been 10 revisions now?
There's
And-
currently 13
Yeah.
versions of the bill before.
So it's gone through a lot. I see the momentum there. I just don't see the urgency to get it done this year. So it's going to be a little bit of a task. On this piece of paper I'm going to give you, it's got all my contact information. Any questions whatsoever moving forward, I want you to feel free to reach out to me. If you hear questions from the community that you need clarification on, my 24/7, my cell phone's on here. You can talk to any of I did Millbury and Northbridge Fire. You can talk to any one of those towns and the town manager. They call me and I pick up the phone. It's without hesitation. I think that's what, separates us from any other owner's project manager as we move forward. We are going to put together a trifold mailing. We're going to try to put that information. We're working currently closely with the architect for that clarity, exactly, the most frequent questions and answers that we're going to provide. And then the chief and his team, or any of the comments and concerns that they might have through the town as we're moving towards May's meeting, we want to make sure we address them. And that same information is being directed to every individual within the town appropriately, so that it's consistent. Any questions so far? I'm doing a lot of talking fast, so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work going up to the May town meeting, so I appreciate all that. If it is to get approved, it's going to take a year for drawings?
10 months. And then, 10 months, and then there's about 6-week period for bidding at that point, and then it's another month for award, because it takes time for the bonds and insurance information and the contracts to be fully executed with the general contractor. At that point, I estimated about 18 months of construction. We're looking at, the December of '27 to have it, hopefully to the point where it's substantially complete.
And there'll be enough information by May?
That's the magic question.
Yeah.
So I said during even our interview process, it's going to be a conservative estimate based on the square footage costs that we have. One of the categories is that we're conceptual, moving into schematic design. The more information that we have and the more detail of mechanical systems and infrastructure gives me a better parameter to make sure that our estimators are calculating the costs appropriately. I know what the buildings are costing right now, so I'm tracking that. I've already done a preliminary draft budget. I haven't even shared with the chief yet, and that'll happen this coming week. And I'm constantly looking at them to see, what can be included, what isn't going to be included, and try to reduce some of the costs to make sure that we stay within a budget. Once we hit a budget and we accept that budget, we're going to stay to that budget, and we're going to build the building to that budget, so.
I think this is just a general comment. I know that a lot of work's gone into it, so when you're talking about budgeting and things that have been removed or reduced the cost, because that cost is going to hit every voter differently, and I think that's just the biggest concern. But one of the questions I do get is, what do they need all that for? What do they need all that for? But understanding what's been reduced or the scope, what's changed, and how it's being managed, I think that helps tell that story as well. It's not, the end-all, be-all public safety, which some people still think it's a public safety building. Just understanding the things that are required and, the nice-to-haves, but also the ability of, hey, this is the cost, but we could defer that if this were to happen. I think telling that story is going to go a long way, but the voters have their say in May, and we don't really know, but just be aware of there is a lot of comments coming my way. I don't know how the rest are, and that number is
I appreciate that. One of the things that we're having a charrette coming up on the 21st. That charrette has been publicized appropriately. We're doing it on a number of different reasons. One, we're going to show how we got here. And so the points, to your point, where it went from a public safety to a fire station, and what is the real need associated with this fire station? I can tell you after walking both facilities, and I did that purposely just so I could get a great understanding, you need a fire station. I mean, I've built a lot of them, and you needed it 10 years ago. And so you're at a point where it's essential that we get this done and get it done now, because the costs are not, kicking the can down the road doesn't work for any town that I've been involved with for the last 5 years. The city of Brockton just is doing a public safety building, and they kicked the can down the road so often that it ended up costing them another $14 million, higher than it would have been if they would have done it, earlier. So that being said, we're going to be able to show the history as how we got here and the need for it. Addition to that is, the forecast of what today's needs. Their dynamics of fire operations have changed over the last 5 years. I mean, what they've done now compared to what it was pre-pandemic is night and day. Their whole dynamics of how their operations work, never mind, their responses for fire is one aspect, but the rescue aspect, the ambulance aspect of it, the volumes of calls. Our generation is aging. Those are getting the more calls. So it's evolving with that station. We're looking at every aspect of this particular building, and we'll be able to express why the need is necessary. And to the point I said we're building it for 50 years, you got one shot at this. We want to make sure we're going to get it right, and that we're making sure that the building's accommodating not only today's needs, but for the next 30 to 40 years.
If I may, is probably the only one sitting up here was permitted 2 buildings, the current high school and the now obsolete police station. Learn those lessons, and I'm concerned about paying for it as much as anybody else. But the reality is, if we don't do this right, this building needs to be flexible. So I don't want us to get this myopic view, which I think both of those buildings ended up suffering from because everybody was so concerned about the bottom line. And again, you have to be, that's fine. But let's learn the lessons and see how those buildings, how they've cost us money for years that the taxpayers have had to bear the expense on if we don't get it right. So I don't want us to fall victim of, well, we said it was going to be what? And then we find out because of cost or whatever. And again, I'm concerned about the cost as much as any other taxpayer. But having gone through those processes now, 20 years for the high school, it's been 22 for the police station. Tore those buildings, we've maintained them, thank God, but we've paid a lot of money because we didn't do it right. So I just want the residents to be very clear, go to the charrette, watch the tours that are on the YouTube channel, and really educate yourself, because honestly, if we don't get this right, we're going to continue to pay money, and these guys are going to be, well, maybe you won't be here by the time that comes, but our firefighters, much like our teachers and our police officers, will be bearing, the brunt. That could be health-related, you could end up with a sick building. There's all sorts of things that you're going to be paying for that you don't want to have to pay for. So I definitely want to, when this building opens, I may not be here, but I want to feel good about the process that we went through. I'm fairly comfortable with the process and the public that both chiefs have done. And I know the residents haven't necessarily tuned in on that for a lot of different reasons, I'm sure, but these are opportunities. The charrette is a great opportunity to come in and tell us, everybody, what you're thinking and get answers from people who know what they're talking about. So that's, my 8-hour commercial for...
Madam Chair, if I may. I agree with everything that Mr. Carpenter just said. My biggest concern has been that we would not learn the lessons of our, the mistakes of our fathers, where they did not build in the capacity for the Auburn Street Station to go up a level. I believe one of the early meetings we had after we pulled the public safety building that we had in this room, I said, don't go cheap on steel. Do it so that we can build the third level if we need to in the future. So I'm glad to hear that you're thinking about, not just now, but 50 years from now, what we need. In terms of the charrette, as Mr. Carpenter's just said, we're tuned in. The very vocal and sort of like hardcore focused town residents are tuned in, but I don't think the vast majority of the residents are tuned in, to be quite honest with you. And, anything we can do to push out the message of the charrette, because I think the best thing that sells the need for this building is to walk through West Station and to see the conditions. I know that's what sold it for me. So, if we can use, and I know I've said this before, I know Mr. Carpenter said this before for elections, we have digital message boards scattered throughout the town, whether it's at the library, the fire station, the high school. If we can get the dates of the charrette on there and advertise it so as people are driving by, they see it, that would be great. I know, the DPW has variable message boards that we put out for parades and for July 4th fireworks. This is the kind of stuff we should be putting out there as well. Up on Packagug, right at the park, or move that message board somewhere else where it's visible to advertise and let the residents know as much as possible to come to this charrette and any other future charrette and make sure they're coming to these meetings to find out why we're doing this. I think that's one of the things that, yes, we send it out on social media, yes, we let town meeting members know, but we don't let the residents as a whole know. I'm glad you're doing a mailing, but I think, using these sort of digital, messages as we're driving around seeing it, we have the 311 email where trash is delayed, we'll get a notice. Why not use it for this as well? This is an important enough issue where I think we should be using every tool we have in our toolbox to deliver the message to the residents, you need to come, you need to pay attention.
That information is actually critical for a number of different reasons. One, the first charrette's going to give us a lot of insight for some feedback that questions are going to come up. The most frequently asked questions are only a portion of it. There may be some candid conversations, questions that we may feed into the next charrette, but it's going to give us the information and the palette of the town to understand exactly what the concerns are so that we can address it. The transparency part of it, I can't emphasize enough, because when they don't feel you're being transparent, you always get a no vote. I'm going to make sure through our office that the town is going to be so well informed, it's going to be nauseating to them, but they're going to get the same information, and it's going to be the most accurate information moving forward. So having a number of different, and that's why the venues are going to be important to have them, consecutively in different locations, because you're not going to draw everybody into one charrette. That's why we need to move it around and make sure that we're having a number of them so that everybody's well informed.
I would request that when you tell people about the charrette, you tell them what a charrette is too, all right? Because you mentioned that it's an open hearing, people can ask questions, come and make sure they know the date and time. The other question I've been getting a lot from people is, how much? And when will we have a number?
That's a great question. So I've been working with that right now. I feel comfortable and confident within the next 21 days I should have, as it takes me a couple of weeks to meet with the designer to look at the, because I'm looking at the conceptual drawing. I could give you a number right off the top what I think that is, but I want to make sure we're being responsible enough to include all of the soft costs associated where we're at. I have numbers that I needed to make sure that, I'm doing some soft costs associated with testing agencies, the architectural services through CA, the geotech services that we're going to need. We're going to need a commissioning agent. If I don't have those included on there and I provide a number, once the number's out there, it sticks. I want to make sure it's an accurate number. As I said, as we move to that May meeting, the question was asked, how are we going to ensure that that number's going to be encompassed? I want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence before that gets thrown out there. So it's taken me, a week or so to get my hands around that. I'm going to have some candid conversation with the department and architect look for efficiencies, but keeping the flexibility within the facility as we move forward. So I'd say within 3 weeks, I should have a number.
Okay, yeah, it's better, make it be 4 weeks if you need to, so make sure you have everything covered. Because like you said, you don't want to go back and say, oh, we were wrong, it's going to be another $1 million. So let's, take that time to make sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do board members have any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just want to talk a little bit about the Fire Station Building Committee. We really do have a great committee. There's 12 residents on the committee. They've been working really hard. They've committed to an every other week schedule. At the meeting last Monday, a week ago today, we had some conversation, to Mr. Chambers' point, regarding the time frame. The committee recognizes that there is a lot of work that needs to be done between now and May. But the committee, I just want to let the board know that the committee did have a conversation and looked at what the potential ramifications and the timeline would be if we opted not to bring this to the voters in May, but bring it to them in October and then potentially had a special town meeting. But when you look at that timeline chart that you have in front of you, and in conversations with Joe, we really do run the risk of another escalation jump in that timeframe. And it was not a risk that the committee wanted to take. So the committee said, you know what, we're going to dig down, we're going to get the work done to get the information to the voters in May. But I just want to elaborate one thing that Joe talked about is there is a difference between conceptual and schematic design. We have approved funding for conceptual design. You know, as Joe told the Fire Station Building Committee meeting last Monday, that next level of schematic design would help to really pin down a number. But the town has always been cautious about spending money either on schematic design work, full architectural renderings, until we know that we have a project approved. And I understand the reasons behind it, you know, fully. So where the number that, and this is why it just goes back to Joe's point about, and Ms. Kavanaugh's point, to make sure that we really got the number pinned down, because we're trying to peg this number without a schematic design. Now, like Joe said, would it be easier with the schematic design to pin down a number? It would be. It's not impossible to do it without it, but we just have to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to do that. Mr. Crane, I'm glad you brought up the point about kind of community engagement and the general population at large. My number one concern in this project. I get fearful when I talk to residents and they don't even realize that we have 2 fire stations. So, you know, I think there is a certain disconnect there. And again, I understand that too. People are busy. They're not typically tuned into what's going on in public government. Everybody's living their lives. But it does concern me as we kind of roll into May for this project. I did write down a couple of your thoughts, but it was one of the questions that I was going to ask the board tonight, that if there's anything else that you can think of in terms of how do we engage sort of the middle, right? Because again, I think we have sort of, there's extremes on both sides, but how do we really engage the middle? Myself, Joe, the Fire Station Building Committee, we're really interested in hearing from everybody that has some thoughts and ideas on how do we really engage the masses in this project. And it's a really, really tricky thing to do, as I've been discovering. So any of your thoughts and ideas would be greatly appreciated. I just do want to plug the Fire Station Building Committee webpage. They could go to auburnma.gov, click under the committees section, go down to Fire Station Building Committee, and there is a complete page there that talks about sort of how we got to this point, the purchase of trucks, the demolition. There's a lot of frequently asked questions that we're adding to weekly. So there is a lot of good information there in terms of a lot of the stuff that we talked about tonight. It's really just how do we capture people to click that link and actually get engaged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would it be possible to move that link to the homepage, just straight to the homepage?
You know, it's funny, I actually thought
through a
about that
couple
yesterday. I
committee
was
pages?
wondering, because there's a couple of times, you know, like I remember when the mosquito thing, as soon as you clicked on, there was like this red banner, you know,
banner,
on the
yeah.
top. So I can talk with IT tomorrow. I do have privileges to edit the website, but I'll talk to Mike and tomorrow
Yeah.
we'll get that moved to the homepage.
Madam Chair, I want to applaud Mr. Corain for his suggestion on using the technology that we have. In addition to that, I think to try to maximize our outreach, it may be helpful to send out a code red message
Yep.
town-wide.
Yep.
So we're touching as many people as we can. So that's another mechanism we can use to try to get the word out there.
Yep, absolutely.
Suggest going to asking the athletic director at the high school and asking for like 2 minutes before the game and just plugging it. You know, I know the library has programs. I know they don't get a huge number of people. I mean, it depends on the program, but I would contact even like the sports leagues,
Yep.
you know, to try and get them to, 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Carpenter. That is something that the building committee did talk about. We're creating a list of all the civic organizations, whether it's the Elks, the Masons, the Little League, the sports clubs, all of those different groups to see if we can just get 5 to 10 minutes of their time to get in front of them. So, thank you.
Senior Center would be another
Yeah,
one.
we've already been in contact with the senior center, so thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
It was a pleasure meeting you
Thank you.
all.
Nice to meet you.
Forward to the project.
Nice to meet you. Yep. Next, we have on 8B, an update on the fire department gift account.
So, Madam Chair, I know the board made a request to ask the chief what the donations are typically used for. We did run a report that shows that the town has received over the last 2 fiscal years, 2 full fiscal years. It's averaging about $6,000 per year in receipts. Equal amount in expenditures which was identified in the report. But I think the chief is here to answer any questions you may have and what the general philosophy is relative to gifts and donations that they may become a beneficiary of.
Do board members have any questions?
I wanted to thank the chief for putting this together, and it is nice to see the different ways that the money is being spent. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Through the chair. As I was, the letter that I provided you, the day that I was writing this letter, we actually, if Sharon was here, it had just gone up to town hall, and I was asked if I could go to the front to speak with a resident at the front window. And I went out into the lobby, and I met an elderly woman in the lobby who handed me a check for $500 and expressed her thankfulness for the professionalism and the compassion that we showed her son on 2 separate incidents. We had a very good conversation, but the timing of it was very interesting, because I just got done preparing this, and probably within a half an hour, that interaction happened, to the point where I called Sharon and I said, I know I just sent that up, can we get it on the agenda for Monday? So in a couple of weeks at your next meeting, you will see another $500 cash donation. So like I put in my letter, these donations come in because of the work of our members. It's not because of me. It's not because of the deputy. The work that our members do on the street and the interactions, as I said in my letter, to be able to have people moved in a way to feel compelled to donate, whether it's a $10 bill, or an ambulance. It makes me extremely proud as the chief to know that we're making an impact in the community like that. So I do thank you for your question. It was nice to review this and kind of look at kind of the accomplishments. Sort of the mindset and the philosophy when we look at spending donations is it really has to, in our mind, it has to serve, 2 purposes. It has to serve either a greater good for the organization or a greater good for the public. And essentially 100% of the items that are procured through the donations are things that are outside of the budget. These are things that would not be possible if it were not for donations. So I just want to thank the public for all of their thoughtfulness when they come in, and some of these come in by mail, but honestly, most of them are hand-delivered to us. And we always enjoy having the conversations and hearing the stories about what is behind that check. So thank you for your question, because it actually was, it was a good opportunity for us to review it and kind of reflect.
Do board members have any questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, so I just want to thank you for putting this together, and it's great to see, sort of the wide variety that it's spent on, but also that it's spent really benefiting the men and women of your department, which I think is the most important aspect of the group that we want to take care of with this money. I just have one question for probably the town manager. In terms of these special funds, the allocation obviously doesn't go through town meeting, it doesn't come through the board. Is it the department head that has discretion for spending? Or is it the department head in conjunction with your office, or how does that, and it doesn't have to be just specifically this fund, it's, I know the library has a similar fund, et cetera.
Yes, so as you are probably aware, when you receive some of these donations, sometimes it's specific as to what it can be spent on.
Yep.
And that is done with the oversight of the town accountant and CFO to make sure that the money is spent as it was gifted. The ones that are unrestricted, although, come at the discretion of the chief, and he determines the use of those funds. It doesn't require a town meeting appropriation. These are allowed to be set up as special revenue accounts, they're donations, with the understanding that it's the authorization and use of those funds by the chief.
Great, thank you.
Did we get a number of accounts? How many accounts like this exist? I think that was one of the requests, right?
Yeah, that was the main request.
So I think there was a request, and we can get that for you. As a matter of fact, we'll have the CFO run out all of the gift accounts that currently exist in the special revenue account. Please understand, some of those may be old, and the level of activity on each account varies. So I don't know what level you want to see. Do you just want to see it in a macro sense, or?
I'll defer to the members. From my, interest, I was interested in seeing this fund exists, and this is the allocating officer, and maybe a balance. I don't need to see, it's great to see every expenditure. It was
Yeah.
interesting to read, but that's not where I am. However, the rest of the board may want that level.
So I think that's the level I'd be looking for, but I also think it's a good practice. The chief got to review and go over and be thankful again and understand what these gifts mean to the community. So I'm not telling them or saying that I would make a condition, but it would be nice if that approver went through and maybe could share that information in the future and say, thanks to our residents and these gift donations, these are the things we were able to do that we wouldn't normally be able to do. And this is how we give back, and in this case, to the officers and firefighter, paramedics, and stuff like that. But I don't know the other accounts that exist.
Well, there are programs for the residents, too, up at the senior center and other things. If there are funds that have become dormant, it would be interesting to understand why, and if there is anything that we can do to sweep that into an account that is active, so that for the intent of the giver is for it to be used, not to just languish in purgatory. I would appreciate that information.
This is more through the chief. I think you zero out the account, or you try to spend as much as possible. I don't know if that is a best practice as well, if other department heads are doing something similar. But again, the intent is to be spent, and it'd be nice to know that there hopefully isn't anything dormant, but that if the gifts are coming in, that they are being allocated.
And I think, as you will see, based upon the information provided, the expenditures actually are exceeding the amount of revenue received over the 2 years. So they're doing exactly what is intended of those funds, so. And it could be a timing problem, that's why the expenses exceed the revenue maybe by 1,000 or 2, but.
And to that point, right, that's a good point, because sometimes we'll use the gift account in conjunction with a line item that we may have. So that's why you'll see that, and I'm going to make up the number, but you'll see 6,000 received, but maybe it was 6,800 expended, out of that account. It's because we've split something, and we said, oh, okay, here's a good program, I'm going to fund one out of the gift account, one out of the training account. So we use the gift account to kind of supplement in that way. So that's how you would get into a situation where it exceeds. But again, that's always tied to another line item within the budget.
It's good for the residents to know as well. It's a good thing to see where money is being spent, and that hopefully answers some questions that they may not even have thought about, but it's always nice to look ahead of the curve.
Do we have any additional questions? Thank you so much for providing the letter and the report.
Anytime.
Do we need to provide guidance to the town manager on what we want on a report, or? I know Todd and I spoke.
I think I've heard enough to give you what you're looking for, so.
Okay, I just
Okay.
didn't
Yeah.
know if everyone else had their say. Sorry.
All right, moving on to 8C, open air burning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was having a conversation with the town manager last week. He had a couple of questions relative to open-air burning, and we thought this may be a good opportunity to come out and just talk a little bit about it, especially sort of this unprecedented fall that we had, especially in November. Not only here in Auburn, but across the Commonwealth, we saw more brush fire activity in the month of November than we did in the entire calendar year leading up to that, due to the extreme drought conditions that we had. Although the drought situation has improved slightly, we are still in a drought. And unless we see some significant rain or some significant snowfall, there's a potential that we're going to come into the spring in a drought situation. And that could happen as early as next month, if we really don't see. If we start coming into mid to late February, early March, and we start kind of seeing some warmer days without water, it's not going to take long for us to be in very dry conditions again with a drought. Open air burning, which is allowed annually across the Commonwealth. These are not laws set by the town of Auburn. These are Mass General laws. Allows open-air burning in a municipality that is authorized by the state. There are probably 30 communities that are prohibited from burning. Most of those are in the Metro Boston area. But the Commonwealth allows open-air burning annually from January 15th to May 1st. The purpose of that open-air burning is to clean up, yard debris, vegetation, that kind of normal yard waste that occurs. It does not include leaves. I'll make a plug to the website and the burning page where people can kind of really dive into the details in terms of what's allowed, what's not allowed. But it is a common misconception that people think leaves are included. The leaves are not included. So it's other kind of brush and twigs and those kind of things. So although it's authorized January 15th to May 1st, the local authority having jurisdiction, in this case that would be your fire chief, has the ability to shorten the season. We do not have the ability in the Commonwealth to extend the season, but we do have the ability to shorten the season. And in my years doing this, the state rarely steps in because they really do not want to step on the AHJ. They want the local municipalities to kind of do their thing. It was, in some respects, unprecedented in November when they did the statewide burning ban. I've probably only seen that once in my entire career, where the state steps in and says, oh, okay. But that potential does exist, again, as we come into the new year, or as we come into the spring, and we're in this drought condition. Regardless of what the state does, we will closely be monitoring drought conditions. We will be working close with our District 7 fire warden through DCR. And if I feel that the conditions are not safe for open-air burning, I will close the season early. So people can obtain a burning permit starting Wednesday. during normal business hours, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, and then from 9 to noon on Saturdays and Sundays. The fee for the permit is $10. It's good for the entire season. We were hoping to have it ready for Wednesday, but we ran into a little bit of a jam with the online banking account that the deputy is working very hard to try to fix. But for the first time, we will be offering permitting from the fire department as a whole, but we're starting out with the burning permit process. People will be able to obtain their burning permit online and pay for their burning permit online if they choose. They're always still welcome to come to the fire station and get it, but we want to at least give the residents that option to do that. We're hoping by February 1st that that's up and running. Again, we were hoping to have it for Wednesday, but it's just not going to happen. So we're hoping by February 1st to have that online. But when people, whether they are purchasing it online or they're coming to the window, we'll be explaining all the rules. We'll be explaining essentially everything that I said to you tonight in terms of possibly burning being done early. During that burning ban, I do want to thank the residents because they were encouraged to call us when they saw people burning. We were doing a lot of reports of outside fires. There were some people doing things that were not that smart during tough conditions. The state issued one citation during that period of time. We do have the ability to cite. It's not what we want to do. That's not what we want to do. But if we start seeing the same repeat offenders, then citations are issued through our code compliance office. But so again, that's kind of just the highlight view. The manager and I felt that it was, some good information to get out into the public. Usually right around this time, we start getting the phone calls saying, when does burning season open? When can I come get my permit? So again, that is Wednesday. We'll be keeping a close eye on the conditions. Hopefully not that I want to see snow, I'd rather see some rain. But hopefully we do get a little relief in terms of the drought condition to make this spring a little less dry when it comes to the fire problem. So I'll entertain any questions from the board if you have them.
Board members have any questions?
Just want to confirm, it's still the Auburn Street station you go to pick up the permit?
It is, yes.
May I ask, is this information on the website too?
Yes, thank you. I did indicate that I was going to pitch the website.
Yeah.
So if you visit auburnmassfire.org, just click on the burning permit tab up on the top, and it will bring you to the burning permit page. We posted on social media today, on all of our social media, we did post a link to that page. So if you follow us on social media, you can just click that. But you can find the burning permit page through the website. It gives all the rules, regulations, how to obtain the permit, everything you would want to know about open air burning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If somebody has a fire pit, is that covered by this, or is that outside of that?
So that's a good question. So burning is kind of into two categories. When we're talking about open air burning and the permitted burning, that's like a set defined thing with what you're doing for that. We do have, and you can find that on our website as well, there are burning regulations for fire pits, chimeneas, those kind of things. That kind of burning is allowed under certain conditions. So back in November, the open air burning season is not open. We're not giving out permits for people to do yard waste and those kind of things. So when we were talking about the burn ban in November, that's exactly what we were talking about. We were talking about people going outside and starting campfires, starting their chimeneas, starting those sort of backyard activities, everybody sitting around kind of thing. That's what was prohibited back in November. So it is two separate things. And again, we have rules that allow it. But we also have rules that if it is becoming problematic in the neighborhood, it's creating a nuisance, it's creating those kind of things, then the fire goes out. So those rules can be found as well, but the two are separate.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you very much. Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
We're on number 9, there are no communications. Number 10, there are select board general items, and the potential vote for a contract for an interim town manager.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we adopt the contract as written for Dory Vecchio to serve as interim manager.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. For 10B, we have a Finance Committee vacancy. We're hoping to schedule an interview for the 27th. Do board members have questions?
Can I ask a question? How long did we advertise the position? I know Mr. Coleman just announced that he was leaving, but how long did we advertise for the position?
Yeah, at least a month. And I can tell you, we reviewed all of our active applications for those individuals who may have considered or suggested that they would like to be a member of the Finance Committee. There were no such applications on file. This is the only one we have. And so if any others come in, certainly we'll bring them forward.
How do we advertise these vacancies, may I ask? Because, again, if we're just putting it on the website, we know traffic is not great on there. And navigation of the website is not great. So my concern is that, and it's certainly no reflection on the applicant, but, you know, we should be aggressively advertising these in any public space that we have. We have the library. I mean, on a given day, how many people walk into the library varies, but I'll tell you, they stop at that stand. I've seen it any number of times. It's a great place, you know, letting the school department, if they're willing to use their notifications so that we can get people, and making sure that those digital signs are promoting. I mean, this is a very important board, and I think this is the second time that we've had one applicant for a board that has significant responsibilities. You know, I would like to see us get at least 2 or 3 when we do things.
So, I mean, we've always advertised on our website. There is a special section for our committee boards and vacancies. Certainly, we can post any of those positions within our public buildings. So if you would like to hold on this, and we can make an attempt to try to garner some more interest, we'd be happy to do so, but.
If the board is willing, I would like to see us, and again, and I know I've spoken to the incoming town manager about the need for a communication policy. I mean, we really need to improve how we communicate these major events that are going on, you know, in town. So I definitely want to see us try and use the resources that we have. And I certainly appreciate that we've added areas on the first floor so people can pick up information. And I know the library trustees and the now former acting director was very, you know, public spirited about trying to get people's input on what they'd like to see, and I think that's all to the good, but I think we need to be more aggressive as we move forward. But it's up to the board if they feel that I'm talking out of turn.
Madam Chair, may I question Ms. Casanova? When does the Finance Committee begin their deliberation on the annual budget,
So
approximately?
I think the timeline brings it before them probably middle of February.
Okay, thank you.
So, to Mr. Carpenter's comment, could we push this until the first February meeting? Maybe advertise a little more aggressively?
We can make it an effort to do so to see if we can attract some additional candidates.
And Madam Chair, if I may, I agree with Mr. Carpenter about more aggressively advertising these positions. Can we also, and again, this is no reflection on the candidate we have before us, ask for more information, like a resume or something, so we know coming into the meeting more about the individual than what's on the application that dates back to the prior administration? It gives me no information about the person. It gives me no information about their background to know if they are do they have a background in finance? Do they have a background in construction? Like, depending on the board they're going for, whether they have the desired background for that board. It'd be good to know that, that we get in, as part of this single application.
So if I may comment on that, I'm not against that. I just don't know if that restricts people. I don't know if we can ask the right questions rather than ask for a resume, because I don't know who's updating their resume to volunteer. But I don't know if there's a better way to ask questions to get the answers that you're looking for. And I don't know, I don't have that answer, but I don't know, I don't want to prohibit people from applying because they haven't updated a resume.
Actually, if I may, it was just pointed out to me, the application does suggest that we encourage a resume.
Yeah.
with the
Right.
request. It says encourage, it doesn't say require. I guess we can consider.
My concern is that, again, I'm just going to use this as an example. So we have down here, please provide any additional information you would like to share about why you're interested in serving on the board, including your background, skills, experience. The candidate put one line. So, that's the concern I have, is that, that either they're not filling it out, sufficiently to give us an idea, or they're not attaching a resume. Either one is fine, whether we just ask more questions, to sort of tease that information out of them, or whether we just, request a resume. I don't care either, how we do it. I just think that we need more information than this, especially for a board like the Finance Committee that has a significant amount of responsibility in the town.
And we can certainly ask for a job history instead of a resume. We can ask for, I don't want 5 CPAs on the Finance Committee any more than I want 5 engineers on the Planning Board or 5 wetland scientists on the Conservation Commission. There is, speaking as someone who has none of those skills and have served on different boards where I have no technical ability, the applicant can ask questions that a skilled, trained person may not ask. So, I don't want us to, or give any impression that we don't welcome any volunteer, because I certainly want to see us have way more volunteers wanting to serve. But I agree with you. We encourage a resume, but maybe we should change it and actually provide maybe on the back side of the application, just some space, you can put it here so people don't necessarily have to generate it themselves.
Right.
They can just say, hey, this is why I'm kind of interested. And, the Finance Committee is a very interesting board, where you can learn a lot about the town, so. But anyways, sorry. So I would make a motion that we attempt to advertise this in all the public spaces we can, not just this, but any current vacancy. I know there are several. I know, I can't recite it off the top of my head at the moment, but I know Conservation needs people, and among other boards. So if we can get that out so that we can maybe, encourage people to apply, that would be great.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is yes as well. And then can we look at putting this back on as a possible early February agenda item? So moving along, we have no proclamations or recognitions. There are gift acceptances in our packets.
I'll make a motion that we accept with gratitude 2 gifts, separate gifts to the Police Department gift account, one in the amount of $250 from the Sons of the American Legion Post 279 on Bancroft Street, and a $200 donation from Charles and Joanne Miller from 34 Arlington Street.
There's a third just on the back,
Look on the front. Flip the front page.
on the back side of the front page. There you go.
Oh, all right. And, sorry, there were 3 gifts. A gift in the amount of $25 to the police department from Donna Bacon of School Street here in town.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. There is a second gift acceptance package.
Yes, I would make a motion that we accept with gratitude a check from 200, to the Animal Control Division of DDIS, in the amount of $250 from our former chair, Doreen Goodrich, and her family, to the Kathleen Sabina Animal Compound. A donation from Ed and Ellie Olson, also to the Animal Control Compound in memory of Beth Prouty in the amount of $100. A gift of $50 in memory of Beth Prouty from Gerard DeLongchamp, also to the Animal Control. And, no, one more, and a gift of $50 also to the Animal Control Compound in memory of Beth Prouty from Rich and Rhea Ringard.
There's one more.
One more.
Okay, well, we got one more. Also in memory of Beth Prouty, also to the Animal Control Compound from Raymond and Sandra Bowden in the amount of $50.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is yes as well. We're moving along to number 11, town manager items.
Madam Chair, I just want to inform the board of the results of the RFP, request for proposal, to hire a professional recruitment firm as it relates to assisting the board in hiring the next town manager. We received one bid, although we got a request from two other bidders for the RFP itself. They did not provide a bid as of the date that it was required to be sent. The firm that submitted the only bid is Community Paradigm Associates LLC. I can tell you that they do most of the recruitment in Massachusetts. They're a very reputable firm. They provided a cost of $14,000, which I thought was very reasonable for the amount of work they're going to do. They scored highly advantageous in all categories, and I'm asking that the board take a vote to award these services to them tonight.
Do board members have any questions?
How did we advertise the position, this RFP?
So it was advertised in the TNG, and other vendors were notified through verbal notification that the bid is out there.
So it wasn't on Mass Municipal Association?
No.
How will the committee, so when I went through it, my concern is the former manager is involved in this corporation, or whatever it is, limited liability corporation, and I just want to make sure that we have a committee of our choosing, and want to be clear what her role may or may not be in this.
I could tell you that the former town manager who is affiliated with this firm will not participate in any way in the process.
That's no reflection on the former manager. I just am concerned about perception being what it is. I'll make a motion that we engage the services of Community Paradigm Associates per their submittal.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well.
And Madam Chair, I think the last item, I am proud to say that we were notified by MMA that our annual town report was voted first place in our category 2 in our population of 15,000 to 30,000, which is quite an accomplishment. And I owe a thanks to all the departments who submitted their annual town report. And certainly, a big thank you to Ms. Chamberlain, Danielle Chamberlain, who really put the frosting on this report. I mean, she spent a lot of time on it. She formatted it. She sprinkled it with some glitter. And last year, we finished in second place, and she did a fantastic job. She is going to be recognized at the annual conference in Boston, where she will accept the award proudly on behalf of the town of Auburn. So, big thank you to her.
Do board members have any questions?
No, congratulations to Danielle, though.
Yeah, that is just wonderful.
It is, yeah, very good.
This is a first for Auburn. We've never received this award, so we will hang this proudly once the notification is formally presented.
That's wonderful.
And Madam Chair, if I just want to confirm, if I remember correctly, this is the second year. I believe last year Danielle was able, first time in town history, to secure second place, or in this year, to secure first place. And so, kudos to her. She does a great job, and the annual report is getting better and better, and I look forward to seeing this year's.
Thank you for your comments.
So we are on number 12. We have no table items. We do not have any member items. There is no one signed up for the second public comment. We do have meeting minutes in our packets. Are there any corrections or amendments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just have one correction. For the November 18th meeting minutes, there was a vote that the board voted not to adopt the residential exemption. Motion made by Mr. Carpenter, and a motion seconded by Mr. Chambers, voted in favor of 4-0. Mr. Corain opposed. It should be 4-1, because I opposed. So it notes I opposed, but it didn't do the 4-1. It was 4-0. Thank you.
If there are no other corrections, I will accept these meeting minutes as read. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We are adjourned.